So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Cooper, and I'm the Deputy Commissioner for Policy and Planning at MassDEP. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to our first stakeholder meeting about PFAS and residuals. And I want to welcome you on behalf of Commissioner Marty Suberg and the Baker-Polito administration. And I do want to say, sort of an extra thank you for taking time to participate in this effort in what is a very busy time and a time when I know people are balancing extra responsibilities in terms of their work and home schedules and dealing with the pandemic and all that. So just want to express some extra appreciation for the time that you're spending with us today and for agreeing to be part of this group. We really appreciate it. And I expect, and we'll see as we do our introductions, that we have in our virtual room, I know we have members of representing the organizations that we invited to be part of the stakeholder group. There may be other folks from those organizations or from other organizations who have chosen to log on and observe today's meeting. And everybody is welcome. And in a minute, we're going to tell you about how we'll be using the Zoom platform today and how you can participate for those stakeholder representatives. Then I'm going to offer a little bit of context, just sort of as an introduction for our discussion. I will introduce our DEP team, and then we will do introductions for all of you who are here representing your various organizations. We'll do a quick review of the agenda that I know everyone's already received, and then we'll get into the heart of the discussion. So with that, I'd first like to introduce Laura Schiffman, who is MassDEP's Stormwater Coordinator normally, and today has graciously agreed to be our Zoom Director. So Laura is going to give you a brief overview about Zoom and how participation will work today. So I'm going to turn the controls over to Laura.
Thanks, Stephanie. Really appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. So just to give you a quick overview of this meeting, it is being recorded. We're doing this in order to make this presentation available to folks who are not able to participate today. And we're going to ask everyone to turn yourselves on mute, please, to minimize background noise. Once we get to the question and answer session, we can unmute you or you can unmute yourself, but please during the presentation do stay on mute. We also ask that if you've been identified as a stakeholder, that you actually, let me rephrase that. Please enter your full name and affiliation if you're a participant in this presentation. You can do that by going on the participants pane, which is down on the bottom of your screen here. I'm outlining it with my mouse. And then you have this list of participants that shows up, find your name, click the more button, and then there's a rename option. There you can add your full name and affiliation. And if you are a stakeholder, we're going to ask you to add an asterisk in front of your name. This allows us to easily identify you when it comes to the question and answer session. So the reason I'm saying this is because stakeholders are going to be able to ask questions first. So again, if you're able to rename yourself and add an asterisk in front of your name, that would be wonderful. I can do a quick, can you see this pane here on the side? I'm going to do this very quickly and just rename myself and say, and I'm going to add, you probably are not going to be able to see this, but I'm going to add an asterisk in front of your name so you can see an example of what it's going to look like. So when you go into the participants pane, you can see that. Once we get to the question and answers question and answer section, if you're participating via Zoom, please raise your hand, and you can do that again by going into the participants pane, and then on the bottom of that panel, there's an option to click raise hand. That'll alert us that you're going to be that you have a question, and I will keep track of that. And then when we are ready to receive your question, we'll unmute you and we'll announce your name and ask for you to ask your question. So if you're having difficulties, please also feel free to send me a chat message and I'll try to help you. You can also post your questions in the chat to me directly. So if you direct chat me, I can also help make sure that those questions get asked. If you're participating on the phone, We're also going to allow time for question and answers during that time. So we will make sure to incorporate everybody here. And with that, I am going to turn it back over to Stephanie.
Let me just pause and ask if anybody has any questions about Zoom participation. I feel like at this point, many of us have become unwitting experts at this tool, but I just want to take a moment in case anybody's having any technical difficulties and wants to identify that so that we can assist. Okay, if anything comes up, as Laura said, you can just use the chat tool to let us know. So, okay, now that we've gotten those logistics out of the way, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about the bigger picture of MassDEP's broader strategy for addressing PFAS, the so-called forever chemicals. I will acknowledge, I recognize many people around the virtual room and know that many of you have been involved in the work that we've been doing, have contributed to it, and may be well aware of it, but perhaps not everybody. So I just want to talk a little bit about that and then touch on what we hope to accomplish with this group. And you'll hear more about those themes as we go through the presentation. So, you know, the big picture. Over the past several years, the Baker-Polito administration has taken a variety of aggressive actions to address PFAS contamination. You know, the first bullet here is addressing groundwater and soil contamination. And in December 2019, we finalized standards under our Massachusetts contingency plan, the so-called waste site cleanup regulations. So standards for addressing soil, PFAS in soil and groundwater. And those are now in place, and you're going to hear more about them later. Drinking water. It's not quite breaking news, but just last Thursday, we announced finalizing a drinking water standard for PFAS. So this standard will actually go into effect this Friday when it's published by the Secretary of State. And it establishes an enforceable limit in public drinking water of 20 parts per trillion for the sum of 6 different PFAS compounds. And the regulation requires that public water suppliers test for the so-called PFAS 6, these 6 compounds, and take a number of actions to address contamination when the PFAS 6 are detected above limits of concern. So as I alluded to, you know, both of these regulations were informed by a robust process. You know, we have our regular regulatory process where you publish a draft, people comment, we respond to those comments formally, we have public hearings. But in both of these instances, we had a lot of contributions from advisory committees and stakeholder committees like this one that we convened. And I just want to really underscore the great value that we at MassDEP put on engaging with stakeholders, people from different perspectives, different expertise who can contribute to our thinking on a particular issue. So I just want to note that importance. The second thing I want to note as I talk about, sort of where we've been, and we're going to get into where we're headed, is that the efforts that we've taken so far have come with resources, or a better way of saying that is the administration has brought resources to bear to support the implementation of our programs to address PFAS contamination. So on the issue of drinking water, the administration has made available over $28 million to help address PFAS in drinking water. So that has come, there's been $20 million for the Clean Water Trust for zero interest loans for public water systems for communities that are facing PFAS contamination and need to install treatment or design treatment. We right now have a free sampling analysis program that's running for public water systems where MassDEP will, through contracts we have with private laboratories, do analysis of samples to identify whether PFAS exists in a particular system. And that's really important, and we're encouraging systems to take advantage of it. And I'll probably get the number wrong because it changes every day, but I think we've had, I think it's over 130 systems that have taken advantage or are in the process of doing that. And that's really important. And certainly the regulation will require monitoring, but we're encouraging systems to do it before that. We're also doing some targeted testing in private wells to help identify and characterize PFAS contamination from other sources. And then also, as part of the announcement last Thursday about the drinking water standard, we also announced almost $2 million in grants to support 10 public water systems who are in the process of designing treatment for PFAS. And so these grants help with that actual treatment design, and then they will go on to do the construction. And there was a lot of demand for these grants, so we do plan to make additional funding available very quickly. So I just want to point out that those are ways in which, when we promulgate regulations and come up with requirements, we also seek to support them with funding and technical support. The last thing I'll mention is that we have had an AFFF firefighting foam take-back program for a couple of years now, and we have collected 100, I think it's, I'm looking down to get the number right, 150,000 pounds or 17,500 gallons of this material, which has been a sort of legacy firefighting foam that's been a major source of PFAS contamination in Massachusetts and in other places. So we've collected that and safely disposed of it. So that's another important part of our strategy. So that's sort of the general background, which brings us to today, to talking about PFAS and wastewater and residuals. So we have taken several steps already to gain an understanding of PFAS presence in wastewater and beginning to look at wastewater residuals. And these are areas where there really aren't federal standards. Either if there aren't any kind of limits, effluent standards, and there also aren't federal testing protocols. And I know we'll talk about that in the course of our discussion, but that gets to some of the sort of the inherent challenges in looking at this. But we, nonetheless, we know it's really important to collect information and start to, sort of grow our understanding of, what is the presence of PFAS in these materials and how does it behave. On a related note, this past summer, MassDEP, along with EPA, began including requirements for PFAS monitoring in discharge permits, so-called NPDES, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits issued to wastewater treatment plants and industrial dischargers. So we've begun to include requirements for PFAS monitoring, sort of for that same reason, to begin to understand what is the incidence of PFAS in wastewater. And we certainly understand, and this is one of the major challenges with PFAS, they're forever chemicals and they're also ubiquitous. They've been used for many sources, and therefore they persist in many places throughout our environment. So, having begun to address and having standards on the books for groundwater and soil cleanup and for drinking water, it was natural that wastewater would be the next media that we would begin to look at. And in doing so, I just want to say, and I really want to underscore, we recognize that this is a really complex issue. And we're very cognizant that there are already sludge management issues in the Commonwealth and in the region. So that's something that we are going to be very mindful of as we go forward and do our work. But that being said, we still feel very strongly that this is an issue that we need to delve into. We need to understand what are the public health and environmental concerns and how can we address them. So in doing our work, and you'll hear about it today and further, in meetings beyond today, we're looking and engaging closely with other states to understand what their programs are and what's their thinking as they look at residuals. We're doing our own research, and we're hoping and expecting, and I'm sure that we're going to learn a lot by engaging with all of you. So in terms of this group, you'll hear more about our specific goals, but we want to make sure we're looking at the latest science. We want to hear from experts. We want to hear from advocates. We want to hear from scientists and academics. Equally important are hearing from industry, agriculture, businesses, and other entities that could be impacted by actions that MassDEP might take in terms of addressing PFAS in residuals. And so that is why, as we go through the introductions, you'll see this group has representation from industry groups, from environmental advocacy organizations, health advocates, academic researchers, agriculture groups, state agencies who have a lot of expertise and have sort of missions that are related to the topic that we're going to be delving into. And I know, and it almost goes without saying that, you know, people have different expertise, they have different perspectives. I know we're going to hear different opinions. That's actually the point of convening a group like this. And I know we'll be able to do that in a respectful manner. So what I'm going to do next, and Laura, if you can help me by going to the next slide, is in a minute, I'm going to go through the list of organizations that are part of this stakeholder group, and then I'm going to ask the representative for each organization to introduce themselves. And then I think in doing so, that person should be highlighted if their camera is on, if they're logged into Zoom, so everybody can see them. So that's sort of a virtual way of getting to know who each other are. But before I do that, I'm going to introduce the DEP team who are supporting this effort, some of whom you're going to hear from today. And I'm going to do that in kind of a quick lightning fashion, just so that we can get underway with the rest of our presentation. So we have Kathy Baskin, our Assistant Commissioner for Water Resources.
Hello.
There's Kathy, okay. Paul Locke, our Assistant Commissioner for Waste Site Cleanup.
Welcome.
Ann Lowry, our Assistant Commissioner for the Bureau of Planning and Evaluation.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry my camera is not working. Welcome.
Good to hear your voice. Mark Smith, the Director of our Office of Research and Standards. Dr. Mark Smith, I should say.
Get myself off mute. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon.
Leldon Langley, Director of Watershed Management for MassDEP.
Hello, everybody.
Jennifer Wood, Senior Analyst in our Residuals program, and someone who has done a tremendous amount of work on this issue already. So I do want to recognize her in introducing her.
Thank you. Jennifer Wood. Hi.
You've met Laura Schiffman, our Stormwater Coordinator.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, there she is again. Okay. I want to recognize Kathy Vakalopoulos, who's our acting section chief for our NIPDES program.
Hi, everyone.
Kathy. We also, as I went through the participant list, I recognized some other MassDEP staff members, so I just want to note them. Claire Golden of the NIPDES program, Liz Callahan of Waste Site Cleanup, and Susan Runn of the NIPDES program. And if I missed anybody else who's a MassDEP staff member, we'll make sure that we recognize you later. I think I've gotten everybody though. So why don't we go ahead, if we can go back to the list of members. I'm going to go ahead through the list, and when I call your organization, if you are the representative, if you would like to just take a moment to introduce yourself. So the first organization is Boston University School of Public Health.
Hi, that's me, Wendy Heiger-Bernays. I'm a clinical professor of environmental health and happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Welcome. Clean Water Action.
Hi everyone, I'm Mario Fernandez y Mora. I'm the Associate State Director of Clean Water Action, and I am also happy to be here.
Welcome, Mario. Community Action Works.
Hi, I'm Shayna Casper with Community Action Works. I'm the Water Program Director. Thanks for having me.
Conservation Law Foundation.
Hello, I'm Erica Kaiser McKeown. I'm a staff attorney at the Conservation Law Foundation, and I am also very happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Erica, and welcome, Shayna. Greater Lawrence Sanitary District.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sherry Cousins, the Executive Director of the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District.
Great. Welcome, Sherry. Harvard Chan School of Public Health. Okay, not hearing. I'll come back to Harvard Chan at the end to see if anyone's joined. Massachusetts Association of Dairy Farmers.
I'm Mark Duffy. I'm representing them in Mass Farm Bureau.
Welcome, Mark. Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition and Kid Coordinator for Silent Spring Institute. My name is Cheryl Osimo. Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome, Cheryl. Thanks for joining us. Massachusetts Coalition for Water Resources Stewardship.
Hi, everyone. Phil Guerin, President of the Mass Coalition for Water Resources Stewardship.
Good afternoon, Phil. Thanks for joining us. Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources, our sister agency known as MDAR.
Hopsavania from MDAR in the Division of Crop and Pest Services.
Thank you, Hatsi. Massachusetts Department of Fish and Wildlife, DFW.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jason Zimmer, I'm the Southeast District Supervisor with Mass Wildlife.
Welcome, Jason. Department of Public Health.
Hi, Mara Seeley with the Environmental Toxicology Program in the Bureau of Environmental Health.
Welcome, Mara. Massachusetts Farm Bureau. I believe, Mark Duffy, did you indicate you were the representative for the Farm Bureau as well?
That is correct.
Excellent, okay. Massachusetts Health Officers Association.
I'm David Naparstik, a member of the Executive Committee and also a member of the DEP, DPH Joint Health Effects Committee.
Excellent, welcome, David, thank you. For the Massachusetts River Alliance, I believe we have Massachusetts Rivers Alliance. I believe we have somebody from the Merrimack River Watershed Council. Have I got that right? Okay, hearing no one, I will come back to that one at the end too. Massachusetts Water Environment Association.
Yes, Mickey Nowak, Executive Director of Mass Water Environment Association, representing the wastewater treatment facility community in Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mickey. Massachusetts Water Resources Authority, MWRA.
Becky Weidman, I'm the Director of the Toxic Reduction and Control Department at MWRA.
Welcome, Becky. Also, I hope and believe, a proud MassDEP alumni. Massachusetts Waterworks Association.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Peterson. I'm the Executive Director of Mass Waterworks Association, and we are the drinking water supply community. Thank you.
Welcome, Jen. New England Water Environment Association.
Good afternoon, Eric Spargimino with NUIA. I'm the Residuals and Biosolids Chair, and we represent most of the water reclamation facilities in New England.
Welcome, Eric, thank you.
Thank you.
Northeast Biosolids and Residuals Association.
Hi, Stephanie. I'm Janine Burke-Wells with NEBRA, which is a professional association representing generators and managers of biosolids and residuals throughout the area.
Thank you, Janine. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so if it's not your turn to speak, if you could just keep yourself on mute, that would be great. But welcome, Janine, and thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Silent Spring Institute. And I'm not sure if Cheryl Osmond is also representing Silent Spring.
I believe Dr. Shader.
Oh, excellent.
Hi, everyone. This is Laurel Shader of Silent Spring Institute. And I'm a research scientist at Silent Spring, and I'm also a member of the team for STEEP, the URI Superfund Research Center.
Great. Thank you very much, Laurel. Texas Tech University.
Hi, this is Jen Guelfo. I'm an assistant professor of civil and environmental engineering and PFAS researcher at Texas Tech University.
Great. Welcome, Jennifer, and thank you. University of Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Dave Reckow, a professor of civil and environmental engineering at UMass Amherst, and I may not be the official stakeholder from UMass, I'm not sure, but I'm on the line. Thank you.
Well, great. We're very glad to have you, Dave. It's good to see you. UMass Extension Agricultural Program.
Hi, Clem Clay here, Director of the UMass Extension Program.
Welcome, Clay. Clem, sorry. Thank you for joining us. University of Rhode Island Superfund Research Center, STEEP. I'm not sure if that's a different person than Laurel Shader, but I'll wait a moment and see.
Hi there, my name is Carmen Sterling. I'm an assistant professor of reproductive environmental epidemiology at Harvard Chan School of Public Health, and I'm representing STEEP today, the stakeholders meeting.
Great, thank you. And Carmen, are you also representing the Chan School?
I guess I can, sure. Department of Epidemiology, Department of Environmental Health. I wasn't officially assigned for that, but I certainly can as an epidemiologist and environmental epidemiologist.
Okay, well, we're glad to have you.
Thank
either
you.
way, and I will, at the end, I'll just go back and see if anyone else has joined. US Geological Survey is the last organization on the list.
Last but not least, hi, Andrea Takranov, USGS. I'm a hydrologist in the New England Water Science Center, and appreciate the invitation. Happy to be here.
Great, thank you, Andrea. Thanks for joining us. And then I'll just go back to see if anyone from the Merrimack River Watershed Council on behalf of Mass Rivers Alliance has joined.
Yeah, hi, this is Matt Thorne, the Executive Director of the Merrimack River Watershed Council. I'm here on behalf of the Mass Rivers Alliance and happy to be here.
Okay, great. And is there anyone else from affiliated with Harvard Chan School who wants to make themselves known that I did not get to before? Okay. Okay, I think that's everybody. So this is an excellent group. We have a lot of knowledge and expertise here, so I'm really excited to get underway. So the next thing we're about to get underway is I just want to quickly go through the agenda, which everybody should have received before. So, I will say we are certainly imparting a lot of information today, which I feel like, at the beginning of a process like this, sort of there's no way around that. You have to just sort of go through a lot of information at the beginning to make sure that everyone has the same sort of basis of knowledge. So we did send out some information in advance, and the first part of our agenda is a lot of that sort of background and context setting. So you're going to hear from Kathy Baskin next, talking a little bit more about what we hope to accomplish and then the purpose of this group and the schedule, things like that. Then you're going to hear from Leldon Langley with a little bit more background about our residuals program at MassDEP and about PFAS and wastewater. And then you will hear from Paul Locke, giving you a little bit of background about the waste site cleanup regulations and the science that we use there that also has informed our approach to drinking water and is part of what we're looking at when we think about residuals. And then you will hear some more detail from Jennifer Wood about PFAS and residuals and some of the information that we've begun to put together. And then we will take a 10-minute break. We'll have some Q&A just to make sure that the information we have presented is clear and all that. And then we will take a 10-minute break. And then we will do the second part of the agenda, which is certainly more technical information. So more as we've been looking at what are the different ways that that screening values for PFAS can be developed for soil and for residuals. So we're going to talk about some of those approaches. You'll hear from Mark Smith, and then you will also hear from Jennifer Wood about some approaches that looking at data that New Hampshire has gathered and applying certain technical approaches there. So we'll talk about that, and then I will come back and we'll just sort of summarize what we've heard or what we've intended to get across, and then we're going to take a break. And really, it sounds like a lot, but we think we've timed this so that there will be plenty of time for discussion, which is what we really want. So we'll take a break, we'll come back and have a good chunk of time for discussion, then we'll do wrap up and we'll give you sort of a little bit of a preview of what we want to accomplish in this meetings 2 and 3. And, part of the input we want to hear from you is, what else should we be talking about aside from what we've set out today and what we're setting out to discuss in future meetings. So with that, I am going to get us underway and turn the program over to Kathy Baskin, our Assistant Commissioner for Water Resources.